the first talk is Dr. Matthias Zimmermann. Matthias is a very seasoned insurance developer, so he has spent most of his professional life in the IT industry for insurance. He has been responsible for building large application systems, and he joined EasyRisk, I think 2 years ago now. Great. And he's our chief developer and responsible for our frameworks, the GIF, generic framework. And he will introduce you in the latest developments. And Matthias, it's your stage.
Thank you so much, Christoph. Okay, let's start. We are now into the third iteration of the GIF, the Generalized Insurance Framework. Last year we had the second version, if you want, where we added risk pool capability that holds the risk capital that is used to do the payouts. This year we added some more things, mostly based on our experience in the past, but also a little bit from what we expect to come in the future. And this is basically the main topic on what I'm going to talk about. There are three things I would like to focus on this talk. The first one is ecosystem capture with registries. Can sound a bit of abstract, but I hope to be more clear later. The second one is like everything will become an NFT in the GIF. The last one basically is the new stakeholders that we add, a whole new part of the GIF, which concerns itself about the distribution, basically the selling of the policies. So the first one, protocol ecosystem capture. This is the current state of what we have today on chain. So one thing that we see is that we're not on a single chain, but we're on many different chains. We have some mainnet, Avalanche, some whatever chain, on Gnosis initially, and more and more on Polygon. So on mainnet, we introduced this year the USDC DPEG protection together with staking of our token DIP staking. So basically, if you have on the risk side, if you have things, you can also stake DIP basically to unlock the capital that can then be used to sell policies. On Avalanche, also last year, we had this big project with Lemonade, Crypto Climate Coalition. And the Pula is the local provider of the insurance. This is deployed on Avalanche. On Polygon, which we started to use more and more lately, we have the most recent thing that we went live on Polygon is a train delay. So it's like flight delay, but it's trains in Germany. So if you're used to trains in German, they usually are late. So that's why our colleagues thought this could be a good insurance use case. There's a Tontine. This is slightly lighter because it's not on the productive net, but on the test net. We'll hear about that very soon. There's a crop case for World Food Program. We might hear this from Huilin later this evening. And there's a new thing like Quake Cover. And on Gnosis is also the crop case that we had last year with Acre. And one of the first things, of course, the flight delay is also on Gnosis. So basically, we see already even not so many use cases, but they're already distributed over many chains. And if we continue like this, we'll have more chains and much more use cases. So it gets a little bit of, shall we say, unorganized. So it becomes not so easy to figure out which instances with which use cases are deployed where and how can I actually find them. And basically, this is the major motivation for this. The challenges is basically maintaining a transparent and reliable record, basically a dictionary of what is where in the whole ecosystem on top of the GIF. And we want to keep consistency over all supported chains. And this is what we introduced with the registry concept. So what we want to have is a single contract called a registry on each chain. And this is basically the directory to all the objects of that chain. And then we have the special case, which is the global registry. It's also a registry, but it sits on mainnet. And it not only has all the things that are on mainnet, but it also has pointers to all the registry on all the other chains. So basically, it means that with a single contract address on mainnet, you have then a tree of dictionaries where you can find whatever is relevant for the whole GIF, for the whole protocol ecosystem that we have. If you look at in a picture, this is the mainnet. We have the global registry here, and it has everything on the mainnet, but it also has links to the chain registry on Gnosis, link to chain registry on Polygon, and all the other chains that we're working on. So basically, it's giving you the address of this one. you will be able to find everything. And it's not just instances. If we look a little bit in more detail, like this is one example of an instance. It has a product and a risk pool, and the risk pool has risk bundles. This is where the risk capital sits. And on the product are linked policies that have been sold. And of course, these through the instance, they're linked to the bundles that cover for the risks that has been underwritten. And all these elements are basically here in the chain registry. So for each of these, there's a line in the chain registry and saying what it is, where it is, the contract address, if it has one, and all these elements. So much for the registries. Next bigger thing is that we're moving to NFTs for everything. The motivation is like, we have many individual protocol objects, and these all have unique identities. So like each policy is unique, each instance is unique, each product is unique, and so on. And for most of these things, we also have an owner. So the owner of the policy is the policyholder. The instance owner has certain rights what he can or she can do with the instance. And if you have a product, it's your own product, so you can decide when you no longer want to sell policy. So there are always rights linked to the thing that you own. So the ownability is really, really central. And once we have these two things, like uniqueness is very important, ownability is very important. So it kind of comes natural that we should actually think of NFTs. So the benefits is NFTs provide a standardized and well-established foundation. All objects are no longer hard linked to addresses. And once we move all these things to NFTs, whatever we move immediately becomes transferable and becomes tradable on trading platforms like OpenSea. Now this looks a little bit more technically. We have talked about registry before, and each registry, there's one registry per chain. There's also one NFT contract per chain. So all these things, they're represented by an NFT in the single contract. So let's assume you have a new use case. You deploy the new use case on a chain where there is a chain registry. All the policies that you start to build will automatically be NFTs. They're already registered here. So you could immediately offer the feature that these things are tradable if you want, without you having to do anything special for that. I already mentioned there's one contract per chain. So this single contract is used to mint all the different objects that have a relevance in the protocol of decentralized insurance. And they also have unique IDs. So the ID of this NFT on Polygon is unique, not only on Polygon, but it's unique over all chains. So basically, we include the chain ID inside of the ID of whatever NFT we have, which immediately has the effect that over the whole space of all chains, each ID you have for your NFT is unique over all but just knowing the ID of your NFT, you immediately know on which chain it is, and you cannot mix the two things. Last part, distribution support. Let me start with a quote from all the insurance expert. I'll let that read you. It's kind of obvious. I mean, let's be honest, insurance is not cool. And selling insurance is even less cool. But it's vital. I mean, if you don't sell policies, then you don't have any business. So it's actually really central to things. And it's not perceived usually as vital for financial stability, how it is, especially in our areas like developed countries. It's kind of so natural that you don't even think about it. It's way, way different in developing countries where insurance is new and it can have a huge impact on the life of those people. And there's a huge industry around it. Like we have agents, we have brokers, we have new tech platforms that compare insurance, and you can buy the policy from the tech platforms. And there's a huge amount of things, and they're all deal about distribution. And this is what we will add in the new version of the GIF, a distribution module that treats like distribution types, distributors, and referrals. If you're a distributor, you write as distributor. It's of course also represented as an NFT. And a distribution module is linked to a product, something like a risk pool is linked to a product. And inside of this distribution module, you can then program your special approach on how you want to organize distribution. You can take a default which just allows you to give some commission to the guy that sells your policies, but you can also do much more sophisticated stuff. So the central thing on distribution is actually this thing here, the referrals. If you're a distributor, you want to have something that you can give to the person that you try to. I want to sell you a policy and you have to buy it, and then you ask me, yeah, why should I care? Because if you use this, then you get a discount. And why should I do this work? Because I then get paid. And this is all with this referral code, and the referral code is basically linked to me as a distributor. So if you buy it with the referral code, you can make sure that you get a discount. And in the framework itself, it will make sure that I will get my commission immediately when the tokens are pulled for paying the premiums. So the thing in action, Quake Cover, this is what we're working on right now. We have been allowed to talk about this for the first time. We have been silent the last 2-3 months because we were not allowed to talk about. It's a global earthquake insurance use case. It's a small company called Contactum. They have a global model for all the shakings and earthquakes. They say they're one of the only ones that have near real-time earthquake prediction technology built. And they're basically the tech provider to this use case. So it's likely the first product that offers aftershock protection. So usually if there's a big earthquake, a lot breaks. And this is a drama in itself. But the big danger is that once things start to break, usually it's not just the big earthquake, there are aftershocks, and they can be as damaging as the first one, and no traditional insurance offers anything for that. So if the big one hits you and you want to buy something like buying protection after the fact, you just can't. But because these guys, they calculate the whole global model every hour, basically every hour you can buy new insurance, even if there was a big earthquake. The only thing what they do is they have a grace period of 2 hours, in a sense that if you have seen something that is big but is not yet reported through the global earthquake event monitoring system, they want to be sure that they don't sell you something for too cheap because they're not yet aware of this big earthquake. So basically you say, I want to buy now, and then 2 hours later you can get it if the price is not too big. Otherwise you have to try again and pay a higher price. So the whole thing will be based on GIF version 3. The policies will be modeled as an NFT, and as written here, we're the technology provider of that one. If you're interested in the use case, you can come later today and talk to me. This is the webpage of the company that is building the technology, and the Quake Cover is, if you want, you can subscribe. They have a new homepage, so you can keep informed about that use case. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. I think this is a great opener, and it shows that insurance on blockchain is something which is going to stay, and it's going to develop, and it's growing, and there are more and more use cases, exciting use cases. And the next talk is about one new use case which is still in development. It's still a prototype, but it's super exciting because it's a complete new vertical, life insurance. And I'm really happy to introduce you to Maximilian, who will very soon join the stage. He has solved technical problems. Yeah, so let me bridge this. Christian. Exactly. Sorry. Yeah. Adam.
You're working on earthquake cover. What I'm curious about is, are you looking at, or do you foresee a future where you guys start to go into other catastrophic lines beyond earthquakes?
I would love that personally.
Typhoon and hurricane being.
But we have been talking to those guys, and that if they do earthquakes, because to us earthquakes seems to be something like complicated. There might be simpler things to do, and they flatly refused. They said that even if I think it's simple, of course it's not. It's like always, whenever you go into a new thing, it's like a completely different field. You need completely different background, maybe different infrastructure and so on. For us, this is a really exciting opportunity because it's always hard to know the business know-how on what to do. So for us, this would be completely impossible to do. But for these guys, it's what they did their whole life, and from all their education and universities. So they really know what they're doing. And this is like the mixing the best of two worlds. So we're the tech provider, so we know about the framework and what you can do with crypto and what maybe you shouldn't do with crypto. They have no idea about that, but they want to rely on crypto because if they would do the classical thing, it would take them 5 to 10 years just to get the licenses in the country where they would start to operate. And with this, they hope to have something like a quick start. And yeah, we'll see.
Another question, they can have probably worldwide data. How does it then work with an insurance? Could I from Germany buy earthquake insurance for South Korea? And
Initially,
are you already offering
yes,
it
initially,
worldwide?
yes, they're offering it worldwide. So they don't ask for any proof that you're actually living in that area. So they have their model is distributing the risk over the whole globe. It means that they have to cluster their money around on the hotspots, and you can buy policies in the hotspot as long as there is money. So if you, let's say, if you could easily buy up Istanbul, more or less, maybe quite quickly, and they won't sell you any more policies because otherwise they would have a cluster risk on Istanbul. If somebody would jump in and say that I think it's important and the thing is actually business, they probably could talk to those guys and then they would enlarge a pool and then you can do more things. But yeah,
they provide the pool capital.
Yes, so they provide the pool capital and they provide the risk model and they manage how much can be sold in which area.
One quick question on my end. The actual data that the network of, I forget the name of the company, but it's aggregating the data on the actual likelihood and the actual occurrence of an earthquake. How is that being put on chain? Do you use like some sort of Oracle solution to pretty much?
Yeah, it will probably an Oracle on the cheap in a sense of there's 1 or 2 worldwide recognized earthquake data providers. So it's not something like, it's not like a DeFi case where you have 20 different decentralized exchanges and some centralized exchanges, and then you mix and match. But you have to take exactly the data of this and this provider because their whole model is based exactly on that type of data. So what we will most likely do is pick all the events that are likely relevant for payouts, and we will put those events on chain. And you can also see those in the classical Web2 world. So that it's like a mirror image, like
cross-reference
prints. So you can see that if you go to the official source, that you can also see the same thing on chain. But this is not completely clear. But this is what we would like to have is if you buy a new policy, you could already see on chain the events that would have affected your payouts have you bought the policy earlier.
Thank you.